If God exists, why is there so much pain and suffering in this world? Hello and welcome to our video series on the existence of God, where we explore questions and topics related to God's existence and also analyze arguments for and against the existence of God. One of the most common objections to God's existence comes from the fact that there is so much evil, pain, and suffering in this world. A quick look at any news channel today, you'll see endless suffering. You'll see violence like gang fights, honor killings, poverty, diseases, and even global tragedies such as wars, refugee crisis, so on and so forth. On top of that, each of us faces personal struggles with grief, illness, broken relationships, stress, and anxiety, and the list goes on. In short, suffering seems to be everywhere. The question then is, if God exists and He is good and He is powerful, why does He allow it? For many, this question becomes one of the greatest barriers to accepting Christianity. Why would an all-knowing God, an all-powerful God, and an all-good God allow suffering? Firstly, perhaps because God could have overriding reasons for allowing pain and suffering in the world. Think about it. Don't we sometimes allow suffering in order to achieve some greater good, like in the case of the treatment of diseases? We certainly do. Secondly, as finite human beings, we are not in a good position to say that it is improbable that God has good reasons for allowing pain and suffering in the world. Just because the suffering looks unjustified from our perspective, it isn't necessarily unjustified. We would need a godlike perspective to make that value judgment. Only an all-knowing God could grasp the complexities of directing a world of free people towards His previsioned ends. But let's back up a bit and ask ourselves, what are the alternatives? If God doesn't exist, how do we explain pain and suffering? In fact, when the famous atheist Christopher Hitchens was asked during his terminal cancer diagnosis if he ever thought, "Why me?" he brushed it off and said, "Millions die every day, and death is simply part of life." His answer, though sobering, was consistent with his beliefs. If there is no God, suffering is just part of nature. That is it. Mutations may cause diversity, but they also bring disease and death, which is inevitable. In this view, asking why is pointless. That's the way nature operates. So, while natural explanations are there, the question is, are they enough? I don't think so. Think about this. Why do we feel outrage at injustice, abuse, or tragedy? Especially when it touches us personally. To complain about suffering is to suggest that life should be better than it is. Christianity argues that this instinct points us toward God and not away from Him. As the famous C.S. Lewis puts it in his book Mere Christianity, and I quote, "A man does not call a line crooked unless he has some idea of a straight line. What was I comparing this universe with when I called it unjust?" End quote. You see, Christians believe our deep reaction to suffering makes sense precisely because God, the perfect standard of goodness, exists. Yet, something in creation has gone terribly wrong, leaving us in a world where both good and evil are real. God also gave humans freedom to choose, which makes love and meaning possible. But it also means people can harm one another. I understand this doesn't solve every question, but it shows why our sense that suffering is wrong fits better in a world with God than in a world without Him. Furthermore, according to Christianity, it is not surprising that there would be a lot of pain and suffering in the world. The Bible tells us in Mark chapter 10, Romans chapter 3 verses from 10 to 12, that mankind is in a state of rebellion against God and His purpose. In Romans chapter 1 verses 24, 26 and 28, the Apostle Paul says, and I quote, "God gave them up to their wickedness," end quote. The terrible human evils are a testimony to how depraved and alienated we are from God's purpose. So the Christian isn't surprised at all. This is exactly what we would expect if Christianity were true. But the more important question is this: does God actually care about our suffering? Many imagine God as detached, far removed from human pain and suffering. But central to Christianity is a God who suffers with us. The cross, often worn as jewelry today, was once a tool of brutal execution. Jesus ended His life there, betrayed, abandoned, humiliated, and in a lot of pain. He is described in an Old Testament prophecy as a man of sorrows and familiar with suffering. Isaiah chapter 53 verse 3. If we bring our suffering to Him today, we come to the one who knows the depths of human despair and sorrow, who understands perfectly because He has been there Himself. But Jesus didn't just suffer like us, He suffered for us. On the cross, He bore the weight of human evil so that people could be reconciled with God and find comfort, peace, and hope even in life's darkest moments. The only sinless one took on world's brokenness, and by His wounds, healing is made possible. I understand some people carry unimaginable burdens with suffering so overwhelming that hope feels totally impossible. Does Christianity have anything to say to them? Yes, it does. It insists that our personal stories, however shattered, fit into a much larger story in which good ultimately triumphs over evil. That story isn't finished yet, but one day, justice will be complete, wrongs will be made right, and God will comfort His people fully. Christians believe this because of the fact of the resurrection of Jesus, the first to overcome death, and the guarantee that others who follow Him will too. I would like to conclude by quoting the Apostle Paul, and I quote, "The sufferings of this present time are not worth comparing with the glory to be revealed," end quote. Romans chapter 8 verse 18. This life's pain and suffering is not the end of the story. There is more. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video and enjoy content such as this, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and share it around. See you in the next episode. God bless you.